Hey, this Realm of the Mist podcast is brought to you proudly by the Nurses Guild. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Realm of the Mist Daily Show. I am Chris. I'm joined by Chris, and we're going to talk about FanDuels. And actually, more than just FanDuels, we're going to be talking about the overabundance of advertising on any form of video streaming, whether it be Facebook Messenger, Instagram, YouTube, Tubi TV, whatever. You pick a video, and it could be literally a 1-minute video, and get 2 FanDuel advertisements on it, and it's the exact same advertisement, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Now,
yeah, there definitely seems to be there's some truth to what you're saying, because right now with football coming back, you have the of course proliferation of fantasy football. You have the NBA playoffs, and every weekend, of course, now there's UFC, whether it's Fight Island or UFC Vegas or the free fights on ESPN. Every weekend there's something, and almost every night of the week, where this is really like the height of the sports season for all of 2020 because of COVID and because of all of the fantasy gaming aspects of it. They're advertising so heavy because it seems to be something that everyone is responding to in a crazy way. Right now, Vegas's action for the same time period versus last year is up a significant percentage over last year, even though there's supposed to be an economic downturn. So people are so thirsty for this side action, they're just going to play the shit out of it, and it's on every video and streaming service you can see, which is, it does get annoying, but there is a reason why they're doing it, I guess.
Well, I mean, I get the reason that they want to push and promote sports betting, which last I remember was illegal. I know they kind of legalized it, but that tells you how often I pay attention to it.
It's only in certain states right now. Indiana is one of them, which I live in, so that's why I'm like, oh, okay, cool, because I can actually do sportsbook gambling, and there in Pennsylvania, you can't. So it's definitely a nuisance for you because you can't lay any action even if you wanted to.
It's not a nuisance to me. I'm not a gambler. As a matter of fact, one of my arguments against FanDuel, especially with as heavily as they are pushing themselves, is the fact that you're promoting an addiction. Like, we're not allowed to advertise cigarettes, for example, because of its addictive quality. They eliminated advertising for cigarettes and everything minus, like, say, for the sake of argument, magazines.
Uh-huh.
But you could, on a platform like YouTube, where as much as you and I as adults go on it, kids go on it. I've seen FanDuel commercials on videos my kids are watching about freaking Minecraft, and I think it's personally, I think it's horrific. I don't think we should be pushing this.
I definitely get where you're coming from that, but there is also, and this is like that double-edged sword, right? Like, do you want society to police your home or how you parent, or do you want to take control of the situation? Because you are able to, on anybody's individual YouTube channel, choose and respond to an ad and say you don't want to see it anymore, and this is why. You think it's inappropriate, or you don't like the content, or you've seen it too much. So that way, at least you get a switched up ad basis. You can do that on both Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
I can't speak for Facebook and Instagram, but for YouTube, it doesn't work. Because I have stated I don't want to see the FanDuel. It's just like I've stated I don't want to see Trevor Noah commercials or Joe Biden commercials interrupting my services or being put on the service. And you know what they do? They double up on it. I swear to God, it's doubled from when I.
That's definitely aggravating, because on the other social media sites, you at least have the control to at least use it for 30 days or whatever the case is. So it becomes one of those things like, How much of the YouTube portioning do you want to control your kid having? Do you want to control their time limit on their device so that way they're not exposed to it too much? Or is it a parenting opportunity if we're talking about from a moral standpoint? Is this a parenting standpoint to be able to sit down and talk to your kid about, here's why I think it's wrong, here's what it leads to, and this is what I want you to understand, that just because they're advertising doesn't make it necessarily a good thing to do. Like, maybe it's a good teaching moment. And instead of, because if you can't block it and you're going to allow the kid to still use YouTube to get their content, which how are you going to stop it? Every kid has a device now, and every kid has access to it. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's a good opportunity to sit down and actually explain your moral standpoint on it, or your ethical standpoint on the situation. And this is, what parenting 101 in the 2020s is, as opposed to whenever me and you were kids. Back whenever we were kids, you went out in the backyard and picked your own switch, and you got told this is how it is. If you don't want to eat dinner, then you go to bed hungry. It's a different day and age, so maybe now we use the tools our kids are having, easily implemented for them. Maybe we use it to our own advantage, and pick it apart.
Well, I mean, my argument isn't just that FanDuel or what FanDuel represents. My argument is the fact that it seems like it's unabashed advertisement nowadays. And I mean, it's gotten terrible. I mean, it's not just in multimedia. It's also, I mean, we all get the fucking robot calls all day.
Yep.
For our college loans that we don't have, or our cars that we don't own, or that we won in a 7-day stay at a Marriott that we've never stayed at before. We've all gotten them over and over again, and there's no relation to the advertisements anymore. There used to be a day like not that long ago that you could put on a parental block on your kid's video game system, or an age block on YouTube, for example, and it would only show age-appropriate material and age-appropriate advertisings. Nowadays, it's still free reign. I mean, the video game one, I'm going to go and say yes. Okay, my kids have a parental block on the Xbox One, for example. So when they want to...
Right, that's the ERSB or whatever, the Tipper Gore thing from back in the 80s, where the parental control board or whatever. Yeah.
So if I want to play Call of Duty with my son, just a one-on-one game, he can't play on his account because it's got the parental block, and Call of Duty's a mature rating. So I mean, there are some things that still work, but overall, the bombardment of advertisement over everything, as I stated before, kind of ran it before, is I could watch a 5-minute video and have 7 commercials interrupt 5 minutes.
It definitely does seem like that, and on some platforms and some shows, it definitely does work like that. And at the end of the day, I think that we all are very aware of the old statement. Maybe the newest generation doesn't know it because they're not taught it, but we're all familiar with the statement of buyer beware, right?
Right.
And this day and age, this information technology, there's a constant bombardment, whether it comes from your emails or your DMs or on your video services or on your social media. There's a constant bombardment of all the stuff that you can fall for. And I think that at the end of the day, doing some research and applying buyer beware, that we're able to protect ourselves and educate ourselves and not fall for something that A, doesn't work the way they advertise it, or B, that that it's not really right. So whenever that 15-second Jamie Foxx MGM, bet MGM commercial comes on, or the DraftKings commercial comes on, that you're able to tune it out and wait for your show to come back on, or skip forward, whichever.
Some of them aren't skippable.
Whatever platform you're on. Some of them don't allow it, so you tune it out, and I think at the end of the day, it's a good teaching moment for people who are falling for it, or B, for people who are young enough that you can put some guidelines and put some some facts of life in front of people, that at the end of the day, it is buyer beware, because the FTC doesn't control what is advertised. So, or the FCC. I'm sorry, I misspoke, but they don't control what is advertised. It's just bought space, so they can advertise anything as long as it's not an out and out lie. So it's up to us to be able to, pick and choose, what we morally stand against or don't want to participate in.
Well,
Is my
well, if we're gonna go as long as it's not an out and out lie, again, why is Trevor Noah promoting everything that comes out of his mouth is bullshit?
well,
But
yeah.
at the same indifference, I'm at this mind, okay, and I understand. Before we started recording, I was literally listening to Spotify, and I don't have the Spotify premium account. I have the normal account, so it means I have to listen to it randomly, and there are going to be commercials.
And you have to listen to the commercials, yeah.
In my playlist, as I was listening, I got 2 songs, and then I got 3 commercials. All 3 commercials, every 30-second commercial of those 3 commercials was FanDuel's.
Gambling.
Yeah. Was not gambling. It was FanDuel's. It was just FanDuel's over and over and over. And and again, I spent a lot of time on YouTube being a podcaster and everything else besides learning researching other material and stuff of that. So I spent a lot of time on Facebook. Or excuse me, on YouTube, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm wondering if it isn't one of 2 things. One, corporation greed. They push these commercials because they, the companies or whatever paid them to do it, so they're making the most money for plays out of it. Or they're trying to force you into the premiums, the YouTube Red, the Spotify premiums, to where you're so pissed off you'll pay the $14.99 a month just to not hear that commercial anymore.
Right. And it is a kind of a dual play there. Definitely, they're going to drive a lot of material down your throat to kind of force your hand to do the premium, or you do have the ability to, tune it out or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, you are correct with the corporate greed part, where they are pushing it to the point where you convert to a premium subscriber, or B, if you don't have a moral ground to stand on with it, then you're going to end up, enlisting in the FanDuel, get the free $50 or whatever the case is, and then you're dealing with the societal trap of possibly peddling addictions. And, it's a slippery slope all the way around, and I think that, A, we have the freedom to be able to do those things if we want. As long as we're not harming others and it turns into something that you have to deal with, well, then, it's unfortunate, but that aspect exists in everyday life, regardless of whether or not you get it from, Spotify or YouTube. And then, B, having the ability to subscribe, avoid it completely. You do have options to get away from it. So that's where I kind of stand on being both conservative and liberal enough to be able to understand that I have the right to be able to do it, and also have the right to turn it off. And this is how, which is free commerce or capitalism, to avoid the ad. So.
Well, let me ask you, which would you say is more morally reprehensible? Oversaturation of a particular product on the social medias or on the created content of other individuals, or something that we all know Facebook does, which bothers me even more, that they're advertising on people's home videos along with doing this. And that's, we all have a little microphone receiver that Facebook listens to consistently. It's called our phone. And if Chris and I were to sit here and have a conversation about my crooked teeth and that I should look into getting braces or orthodontists to get my teeth repaired,
and pops up, yeah.
I guarantee you, as soon as I open my Facebook app, I'm going to see advertisements for Invisalign.
And then the unfortunate part of that is, remember the South Park interview of the human centipede, because everybody made the iPhone agreements?
No.
Did you? Okay, so there was a episode of South Park that dealt with this specifically, where it became the human centipede, where you were essentially agreeing to stick your head up your neighbor's ass because you're always involved in their information and you're an idiot. And so
it's true.
So all of the user agreements that we agree to on every update, the first time that you signed up for Facebook, you actually gave them the right to do that. So You willingly signed up for it because you did not want to read the 15 pages of fine print on your phone. But it is actually in there that they are allowed to do so. And the only way to do that is that there are settings within it to turn off your microphone and turn off your camera unless you permit access. So there are ways around this, but all of the user agreements that we're also used to dealing with every day digitally, whether it's your Android phone update or your Facebook update or an iPhone update or whatever the fucking case is, whatever update it is, as soon as you originally purchased the equipment and became a user of Google or Android or iPhone or Facebook or your Sony TV for that matter. The updates they push through, you agreed to as soon as you originally purchased it and said, yeah, I want to get going. And you didn't read through every line of it. So that's a buyer beware moment too.
There is a little something I want to throw in there because I know what you're talking about, and I've been aware of this for a very long time. But they also get you on every update. When you go through the user agreement, and if you do turn off the microphone and app, or you don't agree to the user agreement, but you still got access to the service, the absolute first update of that app or service, they will automatically reapply you as you agree to all terms and services.
Yep. So they automatically turn on your mic again. They automatically turn on your camera again, all of that stuff. So you have to be diligent whenever you're dealing with this. If you are, because I've hosted and participated in conspiracy shows, so you already know. Like I'm super fucking paranoid whenever it comes to Big Brother watching, or you accept it because you're not really worried about what you're saying. You have to take either one of the two stances. And if you are being diligent and buyer beware, then every time you do a new update, you have to go back and check your settings and make sure they're set back to the privacy settings that you want, or not give a fuck, which is generally my stance on it. If you want to listen to me, listen to me. And I will block you from what I want to block you, which is, like location finder or GPS on different social media sites and stuff like that. Those are the things that I watch out for the most. But the camera and the phone, I'm not talking about anything I'm not going to talk about on air or I'm going to talk about with my friends, and I don't give a fuck who hears me. So that part doesn't bother me.
The following is an important message from the Nurses Guild of Florida. We know COVID has many scared, and many of our seniors are even afraid to go to the doctors. Just the thought of being exposed to all the people in the waiting room, in addition to the doctor's staff, is a risk many don't want to take right now. However, putting off health care makes most conditions worse. The Nurses Guild has the solution. One that exposes you to just one person. Call your doctor's office and have them order a nursing assessment from the Nurses Guild. We are a 5-star Medicare home health agency. Your registered nurse in full PPE will perform a full head-to-toe assessment, vital signs and medication review, pulse oximetry, even an EKG if needed. Lab work and x-rays can also be done at home. Our registered nurse will discuss all of this strictly and directly with your doctor and get you results. All of our nurses and home health aides are fully screened, supervised, and COVID tested. Call the Nurses Guild today to arrange your home health visit at 954-596-9806 in Broward County and 561-826-8937 in Palm Beach County. Remember, healthcare put off is healthcare too late. Stay safe during the pandemic. Wear a mask and insist those around you wear a mask. Wash your hands frequently and stay home as much as possible.
But some people it does, so you have to remain diligent every time you accept an update, because you accepted that from the very beginning as soon as you became a user who agreed to it. The first time you signed into Google, the first time you signed into Facebook, the first time you signed in on your smart TV, you agreed to a user agreement, and that information is in every fucking one of them. That they can listen in on you.
Well, so, see, I agree with you. I agree with you for the most part. I'm the same way. I really, even this conversation right now that we're having about like the oversaturation and targeting advertising through listening and everything else, it's more of an annoyance than anything else in my life.
Right.
That's about the best I can give it is its annoyance. What my problem with it is not that it pisses me off to the point that I'm going to throw my phone away or stop streaming on YouTube or whatever. But my point to it is the business practice of it is so shady They're selling
Oh,
your
of course.
information.
Yeah.
They're listening to your private conversations. You know, it's absolutely grotesque, and it makes you wonder
It
what
is.
else is listening to. Like, I know right now, and I'm saying this on air on a public platform, so you know, it's not like I'm saying anything conspiracy-wise because I know my phone's sitting right next to me and it's listening to me. You know, if the NSA is sitting here right now listening to my conversation, they're going to hear what I'm about to
Right.
say next, but hopefully they'll understand that I'm giving an example, not a call to action. If I were to turn around and say that I think I should run down to Washington, D.C. and put a bullet in the president's head, if I said that in jest without that preposition, my phone could literally rat me out saying he's going to go kill the president.
Well, it actually already has, and it's been flagged, and they're going to listen for any redundancy. That's the way those programs work with the NSA. If you want to do some real deep reading, like Operation Paperclip or the Patriot Act and Patriot Act 2, what does happen is your phone has already flagged you as of saying that. So it's stored in a data bank, and they're going to listen to redundancy to see if that was a one-off or if it's something that you're saying repeatedly, which means now they have to watch you.
Yeah, but here's the now gray area of it. Let's say, for the sake of argument, they listen to it and they hear that obviously I was giving it as an example. It's not something I'm going to do.
Uh-huh.
It was stated in facetious nature and was broadcasted as a YouTube video and an audio video on Anchor.fm in context of a whole entire show. But if they decide they want to have a scapegoat for somebody or somebody to throw in front of the mainstream media as threat to president's life, they could take me completely out of context and just clip out the part where I said I want to shoot the president.
Absolutely, but we do have the fallback that every time we're doing one of these conversations, it's recorded so you can present the actual context. Whereas a lot of people who do get taken out of context, they're idiots and they're doing other things, or they're not actually being diligent enough to actually watch over what they're doing. So they're just saying it freely in all these random conversations, whereas you and I are talking about it with the pretext of it being a topic of what's being shown on YouTube and what the outcomes can be.
Right.
So there's a big difference between the two because, I mean, we do have the protection of the full recording on two different ends, you know, so it's not like they could single you out and then me not say, look here, fuckers, here's the whole recording, and, you know, blow it up. So
right.
There are people who do it unguardedly because they don't care and they could possibly be thanking it. And there are people who are using their right to free assembly and free speech, like we are, they don't mess with this situation as much as they do the individual who's just talking out their ass and they won't shut the fuck up because they're idiots. Those are the people who get targeted to be scapegoats, and it's not right. But at the end of the day, it's not a free speech use. It's people who put themselves in that situation because they're dumb enough that they think they can say that over and over again and nobody pay attention to them. Like, we know the difference.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there who don't, and they're the ones who do get targeted.
Well, let me take a moment here and just piss off some of the listeners, by the way. I don't want to shoot the president. I'm one of the few people on the planet that actually likes our president. That's where I'm going to lose half my audience. Yes, he's an idiot sometimes, and he says things he shouldn't. But overall, I'm actually a fan of this president. So, no, I don't want to actually shoot the president. Now, the next one I can't say.
I think that actually Donald Trump is a comedian in disguise as our president.
Dude, he is a master roaster. He really is.
He does have good timing and stuff. And, of course, you know, in a leadership position, maybe he does lose some good opportunities to be a uniter. But he does actually unite a much larger portion than what people think. So it's neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, I think he's like a vaudeville comedian. He's like a one-liner, a zinger kind of guy. He's always.
Let me ask you. Did you watch the debates?
No.
I did, and I'll tell you what. And I'm going to be as unbiased as I can be on this. So both parties are going to get picked on this.
Okay.
The debate was absolutely like elementary schoolyard. It absolutely was. Joe Biden Joe Biden had no platform to stand on. He said nothing throughout the whole entire thing of anything he's going to do in his presidency. And all the things that he did claim he was going to do, he could have done in the 47 years that he's been in government and hasn't done yet. Why are we going to believe he's going to do it now? Now, on the opposite end of the coin, President Trump, he clearly and precisely laid out everything he's done and everything he plans to do in the next 4 years, plus the continuation of the rest of his presidency.
Right.
President Trump needs to shut the fuck up when it's not his turn to speak.
Yeah, the talking over thing was the biggest thing that I heard about after the fact. Like, he kept talking over him, but maybe not so much. Of course, we all knew beforehand that he was going to belittle, Sleepy Joe every time he got a chance. Just because, as far as a live debate goes, he definitely has the upper hand, which, for everybody who's paying attention, that should be something that you should pay attention to. If a guy can't think on his feet, how is he going to be able to, guide things for 350 million people? But that's neither here nor there. But Trump talking over him constantly just really made him look like a bully. And for people who are on the fringe, until they have another one or something important comes up that they both have a talking point on, it probably did sway people the other way because he couldn't shut up.
But here's the opposite. Now I'm picking on Trump right now. I picked on Trump. He was a bully, talking over him and throwing out the little zingers. Although I thought the zingers were funny, they were inappropriate to the debate. They worked in 2016 because universally all of us hated Hillary Clinton, but Joe Biden does have an actual following. People actually like him. There are people who actually like the Obama administration. I didn't, but there are people that did. So he's got a following. He's not Hillary Clinton. He's got legs to stand on as far as being in a debate with President Trump. Trump should have come at him with a different angle. But Joe Biden wasn't any better. Because every time Trump was speaking, besides the fact that he had to fight the moderator, it was a blatant bias in the moderator department. I don't care what anybody says. I saw it myself. I watched the whole hour-and-a-half debate. But Sleepy Joe turning around telling him to shut up. Shut up, man. You're an idiot. You're biased. Who the fuck talks to the president like that? And you want the job?
Right. And that's and that's unfortunately the way people respond, especially in today's political scheme of things. Sound bites are way more important than deep thought. They're even more important than rhetoric, and they're more important than morality, that's for sure. And people's consistency, the fact that Joe Biden has been in Washington, D.C. for 48 years now, and if you ask people, name one thing that he actually wrote himself that was passed that did you any good, people will not respond to that question with an intelligent answer. It quickly becomes emotional. And then on the flip side, if you talk about Trump in any kind of way, people immediately become emotional. And they don't talk about anything poignant. And whenever they do talk about something poignant, then there's no way you could talk about it with someone who's heavily left without being accused of being either a racist or whatever the case is. So the division that has been caused in the country, especially this past year when Trump has had the opportunity to unite people, it's these debate moments where he comes off as the bully, not the moderator, that is kind of a flipping point for some people who are 50-50. There's a big silent majority talk right now that's going on, and that happens every re-election of a Republican in office. And then there's the silent majority that allows Democrats to be voted in. That's what happened with Obama's 2 years, or 2 terms. That's what happened with Clinton's 2 terms. These cycles repeat themselves. History does repeat itself constantly. And you can look all the way back to Nixon and Carter and Reagan's double term and see all of this stuff repeating itself exactly the way it did 50 years ago, 40 years ago. It's really no different. You just have different characters, and you have social media that makes it look like it's being talked about all the time, even though it really is a fringe topic. Very few people are talking about it in super passionate ways. It's just that the fringe people have a loud voice because they're always screaming at the mountaintop.
Well, you're right, but at the end of the day, because we're running short on time here. At the end of the day, there was two takeaways I took from the debate, and people could, I'm not playing sides here, which is rare for me because I am a Trump supporter, but I'm not playing sides here. In the overall debate, the one takeaway that I got from it was that Trump had a platform and a plan, and Biden did not. Just didn't. There was
Right.
nothing. If I were to score the debate simply on who won by the premise of having something to bring to the table, Trump won, hands down, without a doubt. On the opposite end of the coin, there are two things that I will take away from this that both of them need to work on. And I'm going to say this as blatantly as I can to every listener, whether you're on the right or on the left. Take these into account. Number one, you're not going to win the love of the people punching down, and both of them were punching down. Number two, everybody's on Trump's ship because he did not, in that debate, when he was presented with it, did not denounce the Proud Boys and the KKK. Well, first off, he's already done that previously. But second off, he didn't denounce white supremacy. That's fine.
Yeah.
But let's put this in full context. When presented with it in the same debate, Joe Biden didn't denounce BLM and Antifa either.
Yeah, and that's because of where they're deeply rooted within each party. I think that's why they were both overlooked. If he were to denounce both Antifa and BLM, he would lose a very public group. Now that doesn't actually translate to real voters, but he would have a political fight before his fight is over with Trump. So I can see why Biden would not do that. From a political standpoint, if I was his strategist, I'd be like, this is not the fight we need to pick right now, because we have to focus on Trump and his people, the 50-50s. We have to flip. So if I was a strategist, I would probably have advised him to do the same thing. Now, Trump, on the other hand, that was a golden opportunity to, right before the election, to kill all the racism rhetoric that's been going on. That would have been his golden ticket.
But it wouldn't. But it wouldn't, because he's done it already, and it still hasn't killed his viewpoint of being a racist.
He hasn't done it in that forum with the nation watching in a debate with his opponent. He's done it many times freestanding, but he hasn't done it in that setting. And that would have been a very golden ticket. That would have swayed as many people as almost anything else they could have talked about. And that's without me seeing it and just hearing everything afterwards. It just seems like that was probably a really lost opportunity that he probably won't be given on a silver platter again. I'm sure Biden's people will keep the topic and any conversation away from going there to give him a second bite at the apple. Because if he does capitalize on it, he could fuck some things up.
Well, no, I agree with you. It was a golden opportunity. He should have denounced it. I don't know so much about the Proud Boys. I'm kind of on the fence about them. I don't know if they're really white supremacists or just painted that way. But with the KKK, it seems like a no-brainer to be able to say, no, fuck them. You know what I mean? But to me, it also seems like a no-brainer to turn around and say that Antifa and Black Lives Matter movement are literally domestic terrorists in the United States. With all the actions we've seen this past year alone is enough, proof of it. But as much as it's a no-brainer, it's also along the lines of, the reason I brought it up was just because, ever since the debate, all I have ever seen is, Trump's a racist. He didn't denounce white supremacy. Well, gee, Biden didn't denounce either. If you're going to call one bad, you need to call both bad.
But the openness is not on Biden to separate himself from racism. It's on Trump. So that's
isn't it though?
That's well, no, it's not, because
he's been on record saying he doesn't want his kids going into the jungle. He wanted segregation of people. He pushed for laws that hurt black people.
Yep.
His actions are actually racist. But why is it just because one person said, orange man bad, he's a racist, but a person who's actually done racial things doesn't have to fight those facts?
Nope, it's all been ignored because he's been on the Democratic Party since the 1970s.
Who created the Ku Klux Klan, by the way.
and they've been able to explain it away. They've been able to cover it and divert attention away, because every time it gets brought up, it's a yeah but situation. And the onus is not on Biden to escape the racism tag. The onus is actually on Trump, and that's why I'm saying that was his golden ticket to, on a national stage against his opponent, to completely squash it. And I don't think that Biden's camp or his advisors will allow the conversation to get anywhere near that again, because that's their soundbite. That's what's going to capture a lot of 50-50 people. That it doesn't mean he's going to win. It's going to be very close, especially with all the mail-in stuff going on. I mean, it took a month for them to sort out the hanging chads in Florida 20 years ago. Yeah. Imagine what it's going to be on this election if we do all these mail-ins. So it's good. This might be an election that doesn't officially ever have an outcome.
It may be, but I've got you're a conspiracy guy. We'll end on this. I got a conspiracy for you, because I personally believe this from watching everything that's been going on, and I don't get to talk about it on shows much because of the simple fact of we try to avoid political. But I've been watching, especially the Democratic Party setting up with this whole Joe Biden and then him choosing Kamala Harris as his running mate and everything else. I've been watching it, and I've had a thought come into my head, and I want to, you're the conspiracy guy, so ride with me on this one.
Okay.
Kamala originally joined the Democratic nomination to run for president, and then very quickly dropped out. Now all of a sudden she's in the position of vice president. Right? Running mate to Joe Biden. Now, everybody can see that Sleepy Joe has been dealing with a lot of dementia, for lack of better terms. He can't conform a complete sentence or full train of thought. He gets very flustered very easily. People are questioning the validity of him being able to lead a country. Right. I'm starting to wonder if Joe Biden isn't literally 100% a puppet. They're using his popularity from the Obama administration to get him into office. Once he is in office, once he is sworn in, secured, and in power, they're going to turn around and run a cognitive testing on him and realize he is unfit to be able to be president and force him to step down. Boom, Kamala Harris is president.
Well, that would be unprecedented, but at the same time, looking at Joe Biden the way he is, getting him elected means that Kamala Harris is going to be president before the term is over, because you're predicting that a 78-year-old man can live another 4 years under the stress of the presidency. So I just don't think that there's any way of getting out of this term without Kamala Harris actually being the president by the time it's over with. Regardless of how she gets there, there's no way Biden can survive 4 years, period.
That's my point. I think it's purposely designed that way. I think it's purposely designed. They don't think somebody like Kamala Harris could win, especially against somebody like Donald Trump. And of course, the blind stupidity of the mainstream media saying that a woman can never be president or will never be elected as president.
Oh no, that's stupid. As soon as Tulsi Gabbard gets a little bit more clout within Congress, as soon as some of the old guard gets voted out in the next 2 to 6 years, Tulsi Gabbard's going to be the first woman that's elected as president. Well, that's the truth.
That I've stated that along. I don't have any dog in the race to state, but I mean, I've always stated, like, during the 2016 election, I'm absolutely looking forward to the day that we have a woman president. I just don't want Hillary Clinton.
No, why would you want to have a woman who can't stand up fast without passing out be your fucking president of the United States? Plus everything she's connected to with Bill. Fuck on that. No, there's no way she.
Everything she's connected to that she's done herself, the Benghazi things, the emails, the bleached hard drives. I mean, there's enough on her that I would never want her in power. But that has nothing to do with her being a woman. That has to do with her actions. But the day that we could actually have it, I'll tell you right now, I would not want her as a president. But I tell you right now, if Michelle Obama ran this year instead of fucking Joe Biden, I would say Trump would not have a chance in hell, because of her popularity alone.
Oh yeah, she would definitely be able to, but she has no taste nor any experience enough to be able to even get through the conversations to get there. That's why she's hasn't been nominated or brought up. That's like maybe a 8 years down the road kind of deal.
Right, but that's just to prove my. I'm using it as an example to prove my point. Like even somebody that I wouldn't want as president, she would hands down kick the shit out of Donald Trump. Just there's no question. There's no question. So this whole patriarchy idea behind the presidency, you're putting up the wrong people, and I think this is a shady way of them trying to get a female president in office, using the popularity of Biden.
What I think it is a shady way to be able to go ahead and discount the loss, because for the next 4 years, while they're still able to bitch about Donald, they're able to say we didn't win because we didn't have a good quality candidate because of this or that or whatever, and it props Kamala up for another run, possibly with somebody else, or it sets the stage for 4 years from now for Tulsi Gabbard to get the right running mate, and for the rest of, as soon as Hillary Clinton is gone from the Senate, then Tulsi Gabbard will be able to get her spot, and then I think there's a total change of the guard.
Absolutely. But you know what, guys? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments section down below. Of course, real quick, Chris, tell them where they can find What's Your F'n Binge, because I know you got to get out of here. You got other interviews to do. And, of course, it's a daily show, so any conversations could always be carried over another time. So, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, man. You can find us anywhere at What's Your F'n Binge, or on Facebook at Christopher S. Rutter. Just look up What's Your F'n Binge on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We have a public and a private fan group as well. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you want to be able to find a good quality podcast. Just look up What's Your F'n Binge.
And, of course, guys, check out all the great podcasts of Realm of the Mist Entertainment here on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button, comment, subscribe, share. And if you prefer your podcast in audio-only format, that's fine. Just look up Realm of the Mist Entertainment on Anchor.fm, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Remember to check out the Breaking the Fourth Wall weekly show, where Chris Rutter and myself are joined by a whole bunch of other crazy maniacs, and we're let out of the asylum to really flex our funny muscles once in a while. And, of course, the great interviews of Breaking the Fourth Wall interview. And all of this is brought to you by our new sponsor, the Nurses Guild. Guys, the contact information for the Nurses Guild is in the description down below. Check it out. I'm sure we ran a commercial or something during this episode because I edited it. And, of course, guys, we'll catch you next time on Realm of the Mist Daily Show. Have a good night.